What's up YouTube, it's the one and only legend of winning, aka Low, and I am back with another video. And in today's video we're going to talk about what's potentially going to happen and what's at stake later on down this year in the NBA Finals. Because to be quite frank with people, I was completely wrong about this NBA season. Before the year started, me along with a lot of other people assumed that the NBA season was going to be somewhat boring. Sure, players such as James Harden and Russell Westbrook, they were going to put up fantastic numbers, and they still are. Not only that, a lot of people assumed that the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers were going to have a rematch, which does seem like it's still going to happen. And in the beginning of the season, the reason why a lot of people assumed it was going to be so boring this year is because the parity was lost. With the Golden State Warriors going 73-9 last year with the addition of Kevin Durant, a superstar at that level, it was obvious that this was a team that was going to win a championship regardless of how great the Cavaliers played. However, looking at the Christmas game, a lot of things changed. For people out there who don't know, we are pretty deep into the NBA season, and the excuse of not being on the same page with one another and the teammates, sure, that was something that might have been valid in October, November, and potentially even December, but moving forward with the All-Star break right around the corner, people need to start getting on the same page. Matter of fact, people need to start getting on the same sentence with one another. Because the legacy of some of the players that are on both the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors, they are on the line this year. And if the Golden State Warriors end up losing in the NBA Finals, I do believe that will speak volumes to what direction the NBA is heading into and potentially how we view some players on both of these teams. Kevin Durant is a fantastic athlete, one of the greatest players the NBA has seen over the past 15 years. All the things that he does on the court really goes overlooked. The fact that he's such a well-rounded player, solid facilitator, especially at his position and size, grabs rebounds, and a solid defender. Probably will want more out of him, but obviously is a solid defender. But obviously, looking at his scoring numbers, his accolades, and his accomplishments, this is obviously a player that will go down to be one of the greatest players in NBA history. However, none of that matters. Now, that's not me being hard on Kevin Durant or me having a hot take on today's NBA players. That's basically what Kevin Durant said himself when he went to Golden State. Kevin Durant put at risk all his numbers, his regular season accolades and accomplishments to go win a championship. And to be completely honest with you, I thoroughly understand where he's coming from. Numbers and records are something that are supposed to be broken. Going 72-10 in the regular season is something that a lot of people assume was never going to happen again. However, last year, the Golden State Warriors went 73-9, so obviously that's something that could be broken. Russell Westbrook is averaging a triple-double this year, which is quite remarkable, and James Harden just had a triple-double with 50 points. These are things that are eventually going to change over time. However, winning a championship is immortality. There's nothing that you can take away from a player when he wins a championship because literally his name is written down in stone. So because of this, it makes sense why Kevin Durant would go to the Golden State Warriors. Making the transition from OKC to Golden State Warriors made sense because it's the easiest way to win a championship. And even though most people, including myself in the public eye, question what Kevin Durant was doing, quite frankly, I'm pretty sure he just didn't care. Because of this offseason move, a lot of people had questions not only for Kevin Durant and his character, depending on if it was weak or not, but we also had questions for the rest of the NBA. What is it that the Los Angeles Clippers or the Boston Celtics didn't have on their roster to convince Kevin Durant to go to that team? Also, what exactly did Westbrook do or what he didn't do on the court that made Kevin Durant want to leave top 5 player in the NBA? And also, how many rings does Kevin Durant have to start winning before we can start putting him in conversations and compare him to Kobe Bryant, Larry Bird, LeBron James, and the rest of the list? However, all of the questions that I had for Russell Westbrook and the Los Angeles Clippers, all of them started to change, and I started to look at Kevin Durant and who he was as a player. Because after the Christmas game loss and having a 14-point lead, and losing the game largely because Kevin Durant underperformed in the fourth quarter against LeBron James, which is something that he normally does anyway, I started to question Kevin Durant and not the NBA. Simply because in today's NBA, players really don't have any excuses for not winning a championship because they fight so hard to roam wherever they please in free agency. Being a free agent is something that a lot of NBA players fought very hard for, so players like Kevin Durant can reap the benefits off of. However, if Kevin Durant makes a decision and go to the Golden State Warriors and fails at the mission that he put himself in, it's quite hard to compare him to any other great players. So the Golden State Warriors go to the NBA Finals and lose to the Cleveland Cavaliers because Kevin Durant had a poor performance yet again against LeBron James. Quite frankly, I'll be done questioning the NBA and I'll start questioning Kevin Durant as a player. I no longer will be asking what is it that the Boston Celtics didn't have on their roster to convince Kevin Durant to join that organization. It will be very clear that even if Kevin Durant joined that team, the likelihood of him beating LeBron in the Eastern Conference playoffs will be very slim to none. So the fact that he can't do it with Golden State, odds are he probably would not have been able to do it in Boston. I no longer will be questioning what Russell Westbrook did or didn't do on the court with Kevin Durant, because to be completely honest with you, regardless of how volatile their relationship was on the court, Russell Westbrook is still a top 5 or top 7 player in the NBA. And if you're supposedly supposed to be one of the all-time greats, you should still find a way to win a championship, just like players before him have. And I won't be humoring any conversations that compare Kevin Durant to all-time great players such as Larry Bird, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and Michael Jordan. Because to be completely honest with people, looking at where Kevin Durant has been over the last 2 years, all of those players would have had way more success than he's had. Kevin Durant was in the conference finals with a 3-1 lead and had a teammate who was a top 7 player, top 5 player, depending on who you talk to, in the NBA, and they still lost. That's something that I quite frankly just do not see with LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, or Larry Bird. And if you're telling me any player that we would regard as being one of the greatest players of all time to join that Golden State Warriors team, none of us would have any doubt they would win a championship. However, for whatever reason, I'm starting to doubt Kevin Durant. Being overrated isn't solely dictated on what you do on the court, but how people view you in the masses. Majority of people wouldn't claim that Chris Paul is overrated because nobody doesn't claim that Chris Paul is better than Isaiah Thomas or comparable to Michael Jordan or claiming that he's the best player in the NBA. Most people understand where Chris Paul stands in the hierarchy of point guards and NBA players. So because of that, I wouldn't make the statement that Chris Paul is overrated. However, when it comes to Stephen Curry, it completely differs. Throughout the past 2 or 3 years, I have seen things from Stephen Curry that I probably will never see in NBA history. He is by far the greatest shooter the league has ever seen, and I have been quite consistent with that sentiment even though I criticize Curry pretty consistently. Stephen Curry is also a solid rebounder for his position, he has great handles, and he is a fantastic leader and an NBA player, but I do not give him any praise that he doesn't deserve. However, over the past 2 to 3 years, there have been people who claim that he is more than what I am giving him credit for. I've seen multiple people claim that Stephen Curry is an above average to elite defender. People claim that Stephen Curry is better than Isaiah Thomas, and people make the argument that he is already the best player in the NBA, which then validates the argument that he is comparable to Michael Jordan in some regards. Again, I think Stephen Curry is a great player. However, through time and time again, it starts to be extremely obvious that Curry just isn't that great of a player. And as we move further and further into his career, it starts to be obvious that maybe some people jump to conclusions about how great of a player he is. Again, still a great player, but he's not as great as a lot of people believe him to be. However, I think people need to start looking at the big picture here. The beautiful thing about Stephen Curry is that he's doing something that we've never seen before, which could eventually translate into a shift in how basketball is played in the NBA. Because of this, Stephen Curry should go out there every night and prove people wrong, such as Charles Barkley, who doubts his greatness. But unfortunately, it seems like Charles Barkley and other old players are going to have the last laugh when it comes to how the NBA should be played. Players like Curry are once-in-a-lifetime players, so certain teams like the Portland Trail Blazers or the Houston Rockets trying to emulate their style of play in Oakland just doesn't make any sense. The small ball tactics that they have with Draymond Green at the 5 from time to time might work for the Golden State Warriors because Draymond Green is that great of a player. However, any other team in the NBA who have their big men shooting threes or have small players playing at the power forward position just might not work for them because they don't have the personnel. In a copycat league who tries to emulate the same winning format that another team has might be in for a rude awakening, especially if the blueprint, which is the Golden State Warriors, consistently fail in the finals, regardless of how many three-point shooting assets that they can add to the roster. Which will then be pointed back to not Kevin Durant, not Draymond Green, not Klay Thompson, but Stephen Curry. Because as time and time again, we start to realize how limited Stephen Curry is on the court. People claim that Stephen Curry is an elite defender. However, every single time I see him on the court, he's not guarding elite level talent. And sure, some people may make the argument that the reason why he's not guarding elite level talent is because they want to save him on the offensive floor. However, looking at the Christmas game, Steve Kerr made the very right decision to put Stephen Stephen Curry on the bench in the last Cavs possession. Not because they wanted to save him for the offensive end, because after Kyrie made the shot, Steve Kerr called a timeout, and then on the other side of the court, they called a play for Kevin Durant, but because Stephen Curry is a liability defensively, especially going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. People make the argument that he's already better than Isaiah Thomas. Jumping to a conclusion is laughable at best. Looking at some of their numbers in the regular season, sure, you can make the argument that Stephen Curry is better than Isaiah Thomas. However, when it comes to the NBA Finals, time and time again, Isaiah Thomas proved that he is one of the greatest players of all time. However, I can't make that same argument when it comes to Stephen Curry. Now, some people may make the excuse that the reason why Stephen Curry underperformed in the NBA Finals last year is because he was banged up. But if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be wrong, Isaiah Thomas posted up 43 points, 25 of the points came in the fourth quarter, and he was playing on one leg because he sprained his ankle within the game. So yeah, and also for the people out there who make the argument that Stephen Curry can't be an elite defender because of his size, him being 6'3", weighing under 200 pounds, that's not the recipe of being a dominant defender. However, again, Isaiah Thomas, Chris Paul, Allen Iverson, all roughly around the same body frame as Stephen Curry, and yet they were regarded as elite defenders. And claiming that Stephen Curry is the best player in the NBA is laughable, especially when you have a player like LeBron James still in the NBA. And if he's not better than LeBron James, then why are we even having the conversation to compare him to Michael Jordan? That's something that I expect from a casual fan or the people on ESPN who are quote-unquote experts yelling across the desk claiming that Stephen Curry is comparable to Michael Jordan because of his true shooting percentage. Yeah, I went there. Stephen Curry is a fantastic player, not just because what he does on the court with the three-point shot and all that other stuff, but because he's extremely relatable. Curry has proven time and time again that you don't have to be 7 feet tall and post up in the lane to be quote-unquote dominant. He's proven to everybody in the NBA, including its critics, that you can be 6'3", average height, average weight, and dominate from behind the arc, and you'll be completely fine. However, if Stephen Curry underperforms yet again, not only will he be one of the most overrated players I've ever seen in my life, and I will go as far as claiming that he might be the most overrated player I've ever seen in my life, but the way that we play basketball will continuously be criticized each and every year because Curry continues to fail each and every year. LeBron James is on a 14-year run that, quite frankly, I just don't see anybody matching anytime soon. The fact that he's made it to the finals as many times he has, the amount of championships, the MVPs, the scoring records, just all around numbers that he puts up, easily puts him in conversations of being a top 5 player of all time. And over the offseason, LeBron made it extremely clear that he is chasing Michael Jordan, which is completely fine in my opinion. It's great to inspire to be one of the greatest players of all time, and a lot of people, including myself, believe that he has the opportunity to eventually surpass Jordan. However, there are a few things that he still may need to do to accomplish that, and beating the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals is something that a lot of people, including myself, probably don't expect him to do. But if he ends up doing it, it will be that one step, that one huge step that he could take to eventually matching Michael Jordan. Now note how I said matching, not surpassing. I've noticed that a lot of people claim that if Michael Jordan and LeBron James end up with the same MVP totals or the same ring count, then that means that LeBron is quote unquote better. That just doesn't make any sense. He matched his accolades. That doesn't mean that he's better than him. If Kobe Bryant went out there and won 6 championships, that doesn't mean that he's better than Michael. That just means he ended up matching him. At that point, we have to look at other things to come to a conclusion who's better than not. And even if Kobe won 6 championships, Michael still would have been better. However, when it comes to LeBron James, not only does he have the accolades, but he does have the numbers that could potentially put him over the top. And beating the Golden State Warriors, a team that is specifically built to beat LeBron James, is something that a lot of people, including myself, just quite frankly do not see LeBron James doing. But again, time in and time out again, he has proven us wrong. Now, there is one more thing that LeBron could potentially do, along with beating the Golden State Warriors this year, to surpass Michael Jordan. The next video that I will upload will include that one thing, and it is extremely possible. It's actually probably more possible than what he's dealing with this year. Putting up a fantastic performance in the NBA Finals last year was barely enough to beat that team, but when they added Kevin Durant, it seemed virtually impossible. However, if there's any player in NBA history that I do believe could beat this team, it's not just Michael Jordan, but it is LeBron James as well.